Hello, and welcome to the Authentically Elisa podcast, Unmasking Your True Self. I'm Elisa Bogarts, your guide on this journey to discovering the most genuine version of yourself. Each episode is a step towards unveiling the incredible power that lies within you as we strip away all the shoulds and shine a light on the coulds. Together, we'll explore the path of self-empowerment, self-confidence, and the courage to be unapologetically you. Thank you for being here. Let's dive into today's episode. Today, we're going to talk about neutralizing strong emotions so you can make calm, loving choices for yourself. And my guest today is Dawn Bennet. So if you think about it, what are two things you could do to improve your relationships? Perhaps you've heard the way you do one thing is the way you do everything. You see, your mind doesn't know the difference between past, present, and future. And changing how you think and feel about emotionally stressed times in your life can shift everything. So Dawn has board designations for hypnosis and NLP training and coaching. She's also an accredited certified EFT practitioner and EFT relationship and intimacy coach. Hi, Dawn. Welcome.
Hello, thank you. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, I'm excited for you being here. So tell us how you got into this field of work and just why you're so passionate about it.
I got into this field of work quite accidentally, actually. But why I'm in relationships now, what I realized it was actually my mission and my path all along. Because I remember when I was a kid, I would sit there and I'd watch couples and I'd look at their heart, I'd look at their chest and be like, what does it feel like to love like that? And it was always this attraction for me of like, what is love? What is connection? How do we bond as humans? And how can we do that more authentically?
Wow, that's so cute. You had those thoughts. And what
Yeah.
kind of what advice would you give to someone who's wanting to be their true authentic self?
So what I like to remind people, first of all, is the way that I frame it for a lot of my clients is we're as authentic as we can be in every moment, right? Like wherever you go, there you are. But also everything that we've done past, present, and what we're intending to do in the future is all part of us. So our traumas, our struggles, our bad relationships, the things we're embarrassed about, all of those are learnings that have gotten us to where we are. And so when I think about what is us as our authentic self, some people see that as what am I trying to get to? How can I be more authentically me? And what I like to remind people is like, right now, you are authentically you for everything that you know, have learned, experienced, been programmed to believe as well. And when we get to step forward in that in our light, in other words, to be a little bit vulnerable, to be open, and to really use our superpowers, use ourselves to connect with others, that even creates more authenticity and connection and love in the world.
Mm, beautifully said. I love that. Where you are, wherever you go, there you are. That was
Hmm.
fantastic. I love that.
Some people kind of see as like, wherever you go, there you are. It's also like, and this is why you do your healing work, because if you leave a relationship because of them, and then you leave another relationship because of them, and then you leave another relationship because of them, maybe it's not always them, right? Like maybe that we get to heal inside of ourselves that we're either sensitive to or that's attracting us to the people that don't serve us very well, or that serve us in some ways, but not in the best, most long-term way. So it can be both as a like, yes, I'm powered and I'm me, but also where's maybe my sensitivity or my past that's influencing how I really get to have everything I want and deserve right now.
Mm-hmm. Ugh. Yeah, I mean, I've definitely had that pattern. We're like, what's the common denominator here? Like, oh, it's me, right? Maybe there's some more work I got to do in a certain area of something. Figure that out, break that pattern.
Mhm. Yes. Yes.
So give us let's talk about this like neutralizing strong emotions because emotions can really take over, can't they? And so I think having some idea of like how to neutralize them can be super helpful for all of us because it does really, you know, calm you down. And from there, you can make those calm, loving choices for yourself.
Absolutely. So when I talk about neutralizing strong emotions, one of the things I'm also talking about is using some kind of somatic therapy or using something where we're actually not just ignoring our emotions and shoving it down. I'm from Minnesota where we tend to be like, I'm not angry. I'm just going to be over here and ignore you because I'm not angry and you're not bothering me at all. I don't know why I just got a British voice when I said that, but anyway. So we can suppress emotions or we can neutralize them. And what that means is like right now, if you think about an argument that you had, let's say 2 weeks ago, a month ago, if you really sit and think about that argument, often we can start feeling the emotion in our body. We can get ourselves angry or sad or frustrated again because our brain can't tell the difference between past, present, and future. Everything is right now, which is the same reason why we can start thinking about, well, what am I going to say to them? Oh, and I bet they're going to say that. And then here's what I'm going to say back to them. And once again, we can get ourselves really emotionally worked out. So my favorite technique that I love teaching people is called emotional freedom techniques or tapping. And what that does is it actually neutralizes the emotions. In other words, it changes the way that the brain is reacting to emotions. So instead of getting more and more heightened, we start coming from a place of calm and clarity and confidence and choice. So now when I think back at that fight that I had, I can look at it and say, yeah, that was still inappropriate that they said or did XYZ, but it no longer bothers me. It no longer triggers me, which also means that in the future, when a similar thing happens, my brain's not going to say, hey, remember last time that happened? Here's how you have to react to protect yourself, or here's how you have to react to defend yourself. Now it's neutral and I get to make a choice like, oh, that used to bother me when someone said that. Now I can say, oh, they're coming from their own sensitivity or their own fear. And now I can approach this in a really loving manner, like from a place from the heart where we can authentically connect, or I can actually hear the pain that they're in or the words they're trying to say, even if I don't agree with them.
Right. Wow. So tell us, maybe for those that don't know what tapping is, what is tapping?
So, not all tapping is emotional freedom techniques. So I'll start there. Emotional freedom techniques are also called EFT tapping, is a way of tapping on certain points of the body while we acknowledge specific situations, how they're making us feel right now, and where in the body, if anywhere, we're feeling them. And as we tap on certain points, thinking about situations, it helps our body calm down. So I'm sure most of your listeners, and you probably have heard about the fight flight, right? When we get really emotional or when we get into fight flight, we can't make logical choices because that part of our brain, quote unquote, shuts off. It doesn't, but it's just an easy way to say it. So with tapping, what the purpose is to say, okay, when I think, for example, when I think about the fight with my sister 2 weeks ago, maybe then I was angry and that's why I was fighting. Right now, I feel sad that I fought with her. Well, that's a neurological pattern. And my brain is looking at all the times that I fought with people or all the times I fought with her or something that's creating a reaction in my system when something similar happens. So when I go and tap and I say, okay, even though we had this fight and I feel sad about it, right here, right now, I'm safe. Or it's okay that I feel this way. Or I'm open to letting this go. It shows the brain and the body, it reminds the body that even though there's this thing that's kind of yucky, because that's my really technical term, it's okay. Like I get to feel my emotions, but I also get to move through it and release it. And so that's what emotional freedom techniques is really meant to do. And that's where it really shines, is helping people let go of emotion in a really healthy way that also creates changes in the brain.
Oh, I love that. And I think it's just so useful to have that because I don't know how many times old memories pop up. I am all angry. And I remember even once I was in bed, I can't remember as I woke up, I think it was like the middle of the night. I woke up for some reason. I don't know if it was a dream or what. And then I started thinking about something. And I literally, because it was quiet, and all of a sudden all I could hear was my heart pounding. And I was like, "Ooh, look what you just did to yourself."
Yeah. Yep.
I am in bed. I'm in my sleepy slumber. And all of a sudden my heart, like, okay, calm yourself down. And I kind of did it through deep breathing. But in that moment, I could have done some EFT tapping to try to, process it and release it.
Absolutely. And I like to remind people too that we can even just rub 1 or 2 points.
What
Yeah.
points are those of the body?
Well, it's any of the tapping points. So there's no quote unquote. So let me tell you the traditional ones that they use for research. Side of the hand, like on the next to the pinky finger, like in that soft meaty pot spot. Top of the head, between the eyes, side of the eyes by the temple, under the eyes by the cheekbone, under the nose, under the mouth, like between the mouth and the chin, under the collarbones, and then under the arms, like for women, like right where the bra strap is or where your arm naturally falls when you go to the side. Those are the traditional points that we use and that are used often in research for EFT.
Mm.
So what I'll tell people is you can even just lay in bed and just rub underneath your collarbones a little bit. Or if you think about it, when people are stressed out, what do? They tend to they tend to rub around their eyes and they rub their eyebrows and they rub their temples. And I'm so stressed out. Like that's the body's natural way of saying, like, let's calm ourselves down by hitting these points.
It's so true. I do that all the time. I'm like, I do between my
Yeah.
eyebrows. Usually I hold my finger. I'm like, or like, I'm like, yeah. And in circles, even around the eyes. And I'm always like, try not to do that. And you don't want to like wreck the skin. But yeah,
Right.
sort of thing is a bit better. Yeah. I didn't
Mm.
really, I never connected that to you, but you're so right. I don't know how many times I like put my hand or my head in my hands, but it's always the points around the eye, like you just described, the temple, cheek, between the
Yeah.
eyes. Well, that's hilarious. Or even sometimes, yeah, I put my hand up almost like around sort of the base of my neck, which actually is right where my collarbones are. I don't have to think. I often touch that space. I often like kind of hold my hand there, which I hadn't ever realized. I'm like, oh, I wonder if now I could be more aware. Like, when am I doing that? And when I'm doing that, how am I feeling? There must be something where I must be triggered in some way right now, and I'm trying to calm myself down by doing that. That's very interesting. I'm gonna be more aware of that to see when I do that with my hand, but how am I feeling? What's going on?
Beautiful.
Any other ways that you can neutralize these strong emotions?
There's tons of ways to neutralize strong emotions. And, there's a lot of I always tell people, like, look for the somatic therapies. In other words, the mind body connection. Um, but also really changing our thoughts. And what I mean by that is wherever our focus goes, energy flows. So let's say I'm in a relationship and I'm getting really angry because I asked my husband to take out the garbage and he didn't do it again. And now I'm focused on all the ways that all the things he didn't do and all the times he said he was going to do something and all the things he forgot. And I can get myself really emotionally worked up. And there's research that shows that when we're unhappy in a relationship, we tend to miss over half of the positive things our significant other has done
Hmm.
or is doing. And so the same thing happens when we're looking at how are we being authentically us or how are we interacting with others in certain situations. What are we saying to ourselves about the situation right now? And even on a deeper level, so if I'm angry because he hasn't taken out the garbage, what does that really mean to me? Because it's not about whether or not he took out the garbage. Is it that I don't feel respected, that I don't feel loved, that I don't feel heard or supported? That's actually the emotional piece that is looking for healing. That's the part of us that's looking for connection. Like, I want to know that you care about me and that you're supporting me and that you're still here for me. But it comes out through these little arguments or through these like disappointments that then when I focus on those, what I'm really focusing on at a more deep level is like, look at how I'm not being loved and supported. So when we can realize that in ourselves and where that's coming from, we can really make a shift to start looking at, well, first of all, how am I loving myself? How am I respecting myself? Where am I doing good things? And then now, how are other people supporting me? So, yeah, when I'm having a bad day and my husband didn't take out the garbage, but at least he mowed the lawn, like, thank gosh he mowed the lawn. Or maybe he's stressed out today and he didn't have time to take out the garbage and I didn't have time to make him lunch. I'm just making stuff up, of course, but like maybe there's a place that I wasn't able to support him either because of where I'm at. And that's okay. We all make mistakes in relationships, whether it be friendships, family, friends, career, work relationships. Um, so really stepping back and taking also responsibility for, why is this really truly bothering me? Like, when I work with my clients, we can even take something as simple as procrastination. Like, well, what's the problem with procrastinating? Well, when I procrastinate, I don't get my work done. Well, of course. Okay, so that's a problem. What's the problem with that, though? Well, then my boss yells at me. Well, what's the problem with that? Well, I might get fired. What's the problem with that? Well, then I can't support my family. Well, what's the problem with that? Of course, these are all problems. But when
Hmm.
it comes down to, then I'm not valuable. They're not going to love me if I can't support them. This is actually the crux of now what our brain is seeing. I can't, if I'm not lovable. So now everything I'm doing is to try to feel loved. So when we can find that love in ourselves, all of a sudden, all these ways our unconscious mind, which is the part of us that like drives to the store safely, and you're like, how did I get to the store? Right. So
Yeah.
that's also driving our relationships and our reactions and our emotions. No, how can we make that shift in that belief and give us ourselves what we need so that way we can shift the way that we're emotionally reacting in other situations?
Yeah. It comes down to, yeah, what is that deep down? What is actually that core?
Yeah.
And how can you give that to yourself? Yeah. Because it's really about coming home. It's about within us, and that we need to actually give that to ourselves and not expect it to come from others, which I think we do so much of. And I think, yeah, like you're exactly like you were describing, we don't even realize that that's actually what we're looking for. We're looking for that being lovable, but you're looking for it externally. And
Mm.
therefore all these things get triggered and all these like, fears or whatever. And then, but really, if maybe if you were to love yourself and came from within, and also like love from external people would be the bonus, right? Like we all like that's great as well, but it's got to start within you because everything that you need is actually within you.
Yes. And we also want secure attachments in our relationships. So it's both and. Right? It's like I do need to love myself to feel how other people love me. But also, yeah, when I'm in relationship, I need a secure attachment as an adult, just the same way I do as a child. So a lot of the arguments that we get into are actually about, are you loving me? Am I attached? Can I rely on you? And sometimes we can't necessarily get that from inside ourselves either. And there does need to be some give and take. But to your point, if we don't love ourselves, we can't feel it outside of us either.
Yeah, exactly. And I love how you're saying that you know, the husband not taking out the trash, you could have an argument about that, but really if you kind of dig down into it, it turns into a discussion of, yeah, I'm not feeling respected or I'm not, and then and it's more of a difficult conversation than just, blowing your top at somebody for not taking the garbage out. That's a lot easier, a lot easier. But, but if you could actually like approach it and have that conversation and be like, when this happens, I feel this way. And, or just sort of explaining, like, oh, you know what? Like, you triggered me just now, and I realized that it's because of this thing. And so, this isn't your fault. I'm just letting you know that this is where it's kind of coming from. And, like, okay, that's something I'm going to work on myself. And if you could, not do that because I do find it triggering or whatever, it's a different type of conversation if you can just talk about what's actually going on with you as opposed to getting mad about the superficial.
Absolutely. And requesting what you need instead of what you don't want. I
Yes.
think that's the hardest thing. Like, even when I work with singles, they'll tell me a list of everything they don't want in to date. I don't want to date a person who's like this or who does this or blah, blah, blah. Well, what do you want? I don't know. I want someone that's nice and treats me with respect. What does that look like? I don't know. Right. So we also need to understand, like, what do we really need? What do we want to see? So if our husband's not taking out the garbage, what do we want to see? Is it about taking out the garbage? Or is it about like, hey, if you don't have time to take out the garbage, I at least want you to communicate that to me, or I need this, I need that, so there's some options on the table as
Mhm.
well.
Yeah. 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 I love that. What do you actually need? Yeah. It's so easy to think about what you don't want because that kind of is fueled by all that past trauma or behaviors or bad relationships, right? Like, oh, that list is huge. But I don't even,
Yep.
sometimes maybe those people don't even know what the good relationship looks like for them to even be like, oh, actually, I liked that before. I like that again.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah.
And our unconscious mind, like the part of us, that deep part of us, when we say, I don't want X, what's the focus? If I tell you, don't think of a blue tree, what do you think of? You think of a blue tree. So if I say, don't do that anymore, like you're like unconsciously, we're still looking for them to do the thing that annoys us. So we say, hey, here's what I need instead. Now, when they do the thing you need instead, you actually see it because you asked for it. Right? So it
Yes.
becomes easier to see how they are trying to support you, how they are working towards peace, how they are, giving you the love that you're asking for. And then also you can do that for them. Like, what would you like to see in me? Or how can I serve you, support you, make you feel loved, make you feel comfortable? How do you want me to listen to you? Whatever it is, whatever conversation they're having, ask them what they want instead of what they don't want.
And it's just a completely different dialogue and therefore also changes the mood and the emotion that goes with it.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, this has been so awesome. Thank you so much. So we talked about a lot of stuff today about, you know, wherever you are, wherever you go, there you are, which I absolutely love, and about how to, neutralize your emotions instead of suppressing them. And we learned all about
Mhm.
EFT and tapping, where that is, and that in fact you could just rub some of those points if you didn't want to do the whole tapping thing. Um, and that where your focus goes, your energy flows. So focus it on what you do want and see what happens. So tell us where our listeners can find you online.
Mhm. On all social media, you can find me at Your Unified Mind. So I'm all over YouTube and all the normal social media channels. Otherwise, my website is unified-mind.com.
Perfect. We'll have all that in the show notes as well. And so I'd love to end on it. Do you have any final words of wisdom?
Just remember that you are always doing the best that you can in the moment, and so is everyone else. So give yourself and others grace.
Yes. Yes, that's so true. And, sometimes I've heard that and I've been like, but I know I'm not giving my best right now because I'm procrastinating hard. But at the same time, it's like, actually, maybe this is my best right now because I'm in whatever emotional state or something's going on. So actually, this is all the energy I have right now. And, this is actually is the best. And sometimes I do that where I start to guilt trip myself or beat myself up for what I should be doing instead and being like, this isn't my best. Like, okay, true. And right now, maybe this is because of whatever's happening. So give
Because our
yourself
mind
that.
does what works, right? So for whatever reason in the moment, that is working for us, even if that's to keep us safe from actually doing the thing we want to do.
Right. Yes. Oh, thank you so much for being here today and being on the show.
Thank you.
Thank you so much for listening to this episode. I hope it inspired you to live a more authentic life. I'd love your help in inspiring more people to live authentically. So please follow, rate, and leave a review so we can create a ripple effect of authenticity. Until next time, stay true to you, be bold, and thrive on your own terms. This is Elisa, signing off authentically.